It is January 17th, 1920. The last legal drink has been poured. The 18th Amendment is now the law of the land, and across America, a nation goes dry. Saloons shut their doors overnight. Breweries go dark. For the first time in the country's history, making, selling, or transporting alcohol is a federal crime punishable by prison. The government calls it a moral victory. 13 years later, in 1933, it calls it a catastrophic failure and wipes Prohibition off the books with the 21st Amendment. But what if repeal never came? What if the driest law in American history simply never ended? Here is what actually happened. By the late 1920s, Prohibition had produced the opposite of everything its supporters promised. Bootleggers turned speakeasies into a national industry worth billions. Al Capone's criminal empire earned more in a single year than most American corporations. Federal agents across the country seized millions of gallons of illegal liquor and barely made a dent in the flow. When the Great Depression hit in 1929, Congress recognized taxes on legal alcohol as an immediate financial lifeline. Repeal was sold to the public as economic recovery, as jobs, as stability. It worked. Today, the legal alcohol industry employs more than 4 million Americans and generates over $250 billion a year. Now erase that repeal entirely. The amendment holds. The law stays. The Great Depression drags on far longer than your history books record. Without alcohol tax revenue pouring into federal coffers, the government collects billions less every year during its most desperate decade. Programs like Social Security, which barely passed in 1935 under fierce opposition, face brutal funding shortfalls from the start. The New Deal shrinks, recovery stalls by years, and possibly longer. Organized crime does not retreat. It expands beyond anything Capone imagined. With no legal alcohol market ever returning to compete for demand, criminal networks pivot completely into gambling, narcotics, and political corruption on a massive scale. Cities like Chicago, New York, and Kansas City don't just have mob problems. They have mob governments. By the 1940s, organized crime is structurally woven into American law enforcement, City Hall, and the courts at every level. World War II changes much, but not this. American soldiers return home in 1945 to a country still legally dry. The culture of defiance around alcohol does not fade with the passing years. It hardens into something permanent. Homebrewing becomes a quiet middle-class tradition. The same rebellious energy that once filled underground speakeasies now sustains a black market that is larger, better organized, and essentially impossible for any government to dismantle. By the 1960s, the argument is no longer really about whiskey or beer. It is about federal authority itself. A generation raised on Washington's most visible and prolonged failure looks at federal drug law and openly laughs. The war on drugs, launched in the 1970s, carries almost no moral credibility, with a public that has watched its government fail spectacularly to ban alcohol for more than 50 years. Your world looks nothing like the one you know. Your favorite bar doesn't exist. The massive industry behind it was never built. Napa Valley is a quiet farm. Bourbon is contraband sold from the trunk of a car. And the criminal networks that Prohibition created, never weakened by repeal, never starved of their original profit, are not a chapter in a history book. They are a fact of daily American life. It all started with one amendment. It is January 17th, 1920. The last legal drink has been poured. And in this world, it really was the last one.